Hello my dear sewing friends, it's Alisa here and welcome to Sew and Grow, a channel that is dedicated to sewing beautiful clothes for our kids. And today, as you can see, I have a ton of examples right in front of me. I think I have like 5 different jackets over here, 4 different pants, countless shirts, because I really wanted to share with you 7 different ways how you can really make your kids' clothes stand out, pop, and be fun to wear. Now, when I first started sewing clothes for my little one, I really thought that it's not necessary at all, because in my adult thinking, in my mind, as long as the clothes provided comfort and protection from the elements, that was all that there needed to be. But then I quickly realized that, kids love bright colors, they love different textures, they love interesting details, something to concentrate their attention to, something to spark their creativity. And the fun and the most amazing part about making your own clothes is that you can do it together with them and it doesn't have to cost a ton. Let's start this list with something quite easy, something that you can do right here, right now after watching this video, because everything that you will need, you probably already have at home. And I know that this particular one might seem like such a very primitive, very simple thing to do, but I promise you, it adds a touch of interest. It definitely adds a pop of color. And just try it. You will see how it takes the garment to a different level. So let me show you a few examples. I really love using bright, contrasting color thread from my top stitching. And I must admit I do it on all sorts of garments, not just for my little one, but for my own garments as well. I just think it's so fun. And here on these little pink shorts, as you can see, I went with a darker color pink. Then I played with the same idea on this little unicorn jacket. As you can see on this little bee jacket as well. And as I mentioned, I do it quite a bit, so you will see it on all sorts of garments throughout this video. In the same category, I also want to encourage you to use beautiful, different decorative stitches that you already have on your sewing machine or on your serger to create beautiful and interesting hems. I have a couple of examples here. This is fresh off the serger, and as you can see here, I've used a lettuce hem, and it just makes a sweet little t-shirt just a tad more special and fun. And here on this little one, I used a zigzag stitch on a sewing machine in order to create a scallop hem, which also just adds a little bit of something extra to an otherwise very simple design. Moving down to list number 2, try adding contrasting binding and contrasting details into the design of your garment. Personally, I really like doing that in the pocket area because then I also get to use up the fabric scraps that I have, but you can also add a little bit of contrasting details in any seam. Raglan sleeve seams are great for that, or for example here, I did that in a 3-piece hood, and you don't have to purchase anything special to do this. All I did is I took the fabric, folded that in half, cut it into a strip, and then sewed it into the seam. Number 3 on my list is reserved for buttons, and not just any buttons, but those really fun, cute specialty buttons that you can find pretty inexpensively at a craft store, or let's say at your local Joann's or fabric store. And I must say that one of the reasons why I didn't use those for a really long time, because I thought to myself, man, it will be really hard to button these up. And then it came to me that they don't have to be functional. They just have to be fun and add a little bit of interest to the garment. So I had these bead buttons for a while, and I finally attached them on this cute little jacket, which I think makes it super adorable and a huge success with my daughter. She loves it. I also poured my own buttons in the shapes of hearts, and I made this raglan t-shirt quite some time ago. She still wears it. So you can see, you can go for really elaborate buttons or for something simpler, and as I mentioned, they don't have to be functional, they just have to be fun. Next, let's talk about different trims. This one is so fun, isn't it? Because it moves right with you, and it's so easy as well. That's one of the reasons why I really love it, because I usually add it anywhere where there's a hem. So on the bottom, sometimes on the sleeves, but you don't have to limit yourself to that. You can basically add a little trim anywhere where there is a seam. So for example, here I added this sweet little pom-pom trim on the sleeves and on the bottom. Here's another example. This is a little lace trim on the bottom of the skirt, and you can buy so many different trims at the store. There's really a wide variety, but you don't have to if you don't want to. Sometimes I actually like to make a little ruffle out of the fabric itself and then attach it as a little trim on a pocket. You can also use tulle as a little ruffle on the bottom of the skirt. Every time it works like a charm. Moving on to number 5. Here I have for you 3 different ways how you can add your own graphic design to the clothes that you make. Because when I first started sewing clothes for my little one, I did feel, I wouldn't say somewhat limited, not necessarily even discouraged, but when you go to a ready-to-wear shop, you see kids' clothes with different characters on them that you know and love, like for example Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse and Lilo and Stitch and whatnot. Pick one that your child loves, right? And when you make your own clothes, sometimes you can get fabric with that character on it, but sometimes you just want to make something really fun and really special. Now, one of the ways how to add your own graphic design to your handmade garment, of course, is to use iron-on vinyl and a cutting machine if you have. I'm saying and if you have one because this was actually cut entirely by hand, so you don't necessarily have to have any specialty equipment to make creative designs. Another way to add some graphics to your handmade clothes is to use iron-on patches. And I know that these are quite generic, you know, it's a rainbow and it's a little flower, but I did check at my local craft store and sewing store, and I did see iron-on patches with some really famous animation movie characters. They even had some little sparkles and little crystals on them, so definitely plenty of choices for your handmade creativity. Another option that I know of is to use this iron-on design. It's sort of like an iron-on vinyl. The only difference is that this is already pre-made as is. So all you have to do is place it on top of your fabric and seal it with heat. For number 6 on this list, I would like to encourage you to use applique in order to embellish handmade clothes for your little ones. I personally like using both traditional applique and a reverse applique as well, and both add a really fun and unique touch to the clothes. Plus, you can go as simple to begin with or as complex as you would like. Here's a little rose sweater that I did for my little one using the reverse applique technique. Number 7 on my list is a little bit counterintuitive, but I think it's because of our own personal assumptions, so please hear me out. I think that one of the best ways how to make your clothes stand out, be really fun, colorful, bright, cheerful, and creative is to actually use fabric scraps in order to make them. I do love that making clothes from fabric scraps saves a lot of money, but think about it from a different perspective. Think about it from a point of creativity, that instead of using one piece of fabric to create a hoodie or a jacket or a pair of shorts, now you're using 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 smaller pieces of fabric, and your point, your idea is to combine them in such a way that would make it fun and interesting and creative and totally unique. And that is what majority of these clothes are made from fabric scraps, from a lining of a skirt that I upcycled, from a piece of fabric from a dress that I made a long time ago that was a leftover, a little fabric scrap. This was made from little fabric scraps as well, and so was this. And as you can see, you can definitely do a lot with that. I truly hope that you got a ton of really interesting ideas. Thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see how to upcycle kids' clothes, then click right over here. I'll give you 3 step-by-step techniques on how to do that. And until next time, happy, thoughtful sewing for your little ones. Bye!